So part two of our decline of feudalism unit, and we are talking about the bubonic plague, which will also be called the Black Death or just the plague. We started with the political developments and stuff that helped weaken feudalism in England from the Magna Carta and giving rights to the people. The second reason we're going to look at is this bubonic plague. It affected all of Europe, and it struck Europe from a period of about 1346 to 1351. But it came back and returned greater strength in the 15th century, which would be the 1400s. There's lots of change that happened because of this. Historians think that it started in Asia, over here in Central Asia, and China, and spread through India and the Middle East, and then through Europe. It traveled along the Silk Road, which was a main trade route of the time. So it was also carried by ship to Italy and spread from there. So we know that it went all around England, came from the Far East. Important thing were symptoms. We have a PowerPoint slide that's going to show you some gruesome pictures of these symptoms. Fever, vomiting, coughing, sneezing, egg-sized swelling, and these egg-sized swelling or bumps were called buboes, and that's where you get the term bubonic. The term Black Death came from these because they were black and blue when they swelled. So Black Death, they connected these buboes with people dying. A lot of it dealt with the dirty conditions that people were living in. Population's growing at this time, and you've got a ton of people in a small area, and there's lots of bacteria and lots of disease going around. And the main carrier of this was fleas on rats. So think about this. We have big city, lots of people, becomes dirty living conditions. When we think of dirty, we think of rats populating a city. So these rats were infected by these fleas. So we've got these rats carrying infected fleas all over. When the rats die, the fleas then jump to someone else, and sometimes it could be another person. It's called a host. So fleas on rats is the main carrier of the plague. Fleas on rats. So, during the Middle Ages, it was not unusual for people to go a long time without bathing, without changing their clothes. And you can see rats were walking around in their homes and the floors, anywhere there was food. The city streets were filled with human waste and dead animals and trash. Just not a really pleasant time, and this is making it very, very pleasant for fleas. They are flourishing. There are tons of fleas and rats in the city at this time. At the time, though, no one knew where this disease came from, and when people get scared, they start blaming anything. So they blamed it from position of the planets and the stars to lepers and Jews. They blamed it on religion. And this isn't the first time that Jews were publicly persecuted or had prejudice against them. It led the English government in the past to order all Jews to leave the country in 1290. So lots of times the Jews were the scapegoat, but this is just another example where they are blamed for something that's happening. So the Jews were the scapegoat, but no one could ignore the impact. The impact is what happens. So the plague is killing tons and tons of people, so populations are taking a hit. China's population fell nearly to half of what it was, and that's a lot to do to the plague and famine. Travelers reported that dead bodies covered the ground where they roamed. Some historians think that 24 million Europeans died of the plague. That'd be about a third of the population. So it's crazy. You'll see an activity we do in here where we cross that off and see the impact. So the deaths of so many people speeded changes in Europe's economic and social structure. And these changes led to the decline of feudalism. So how this ties to feudalism is the death or losing so much of the population impacts the economy and impacts social structure, so it led to change. So trade and any economic movement was really, really having trouble during these times, and the economy needed a total rebuild. And it wasn't going to be rebuilt the same way with the feudal lords holding most of the power for each of the manor. After the plague, the shift in power from the nobles to the common people. And the common people had power. One main reason they had power is because people needed workers, so they were in demand. They needed people to carry out jobs, and suddenly the common people have power because of this. The workers who were left demanded more money because they could. They could say, "Pay me more, treat me better," because there was no one else alive. So many peasants left the manors they were working on and moved to towns and cities looking for better opportunities. And because they were leaving the manors, this weakened the system of feudalism. And after the plague, a number of peasant rebellions broke out. And when the nobles tried to return things how they'd been, everyone across Europe got angry, which the word resentment there, they got very angry and they revolted. So they couldn't really hold the peasants down once they had a taste of a little bit better life. So there was famous, peasant revolts, and King Richard was presented demands by the rebels, and they really demonstrated their power, and this was a huge shift that ended kind of serfdom and working on manors.